Not at all for me wearing a dress. When it came time for the performance, there were a few parents who were offended. They had a very strict dress code, and the rules of conduct of the school were also strict. The attendant was very open-minded. Our dress code was very lax, and we got to wear whatever we wanted to class within reason. It was also a big school as well, full of diversity and many cliques. Some of the students happen to have been bussed in, so that explains the large amount of diversity in the school, despite it being in the South. My first day of high school was very interesting. I was definitely in an angsty phase at that time. I wore really tight clothes, and I was doing my best to fit into other groups at the school. I managed to befriend quite a few people on my first day. My classes didn't seem to cause any issues or concern for me. I always excelled in academics, and although I didn't always look like it, I was a very smart student. Being that I was gay, I did start to form many crushes, but none of them exceeded past that. None of the guys at school were really my type, to be honest. Yeah, they were very nice to look at, but none for me to infatuate heavily over at this time. My freshman year of high school caused me to research a lot about myself. I knew that as I continue high school, things were only going to become more complex. The older I was getting, the more I was understanding how cruel it can be for someone like me. As my freshman year of high school was coming to an end, I was then starting to prepare myself for my sophomore year of high school, which I had a feeling would be even more of a challenge, which it was, but it wasn't that bad. My second year of high school wasn't that eventful, but I did happen to see a few things which interested me. I had enrolled myself into music class, playing the violin, and it brought a lot of peace to my life. The violin wasn't something I was intending on learning, it just sort of happened. I'm glad that I took it up, as learning play it really helped me. Learning to play classical music was something I had no experience with prior, but taking on the risk was very nice. As my sophomore year was coming to a close, I was now 16 years old. I was still unsure of what to do with my life and still struggling with my identity. My mother was a great support system and was always there for me. However, due to the fact she worked shift, I barely got to interact with her as much as I wanted to. My junior year of high school came and went rather fast. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. I managed to engage myself with a few friends, but I didn't really develop any deep feelings for any of them. There were a couple dances I went to, but I didn't really do anything that noteworthy. I focused on playing the violin more, and I did other after-school activities. I was just really happy at this school, and it was drama-free and judgment-free. My junior year was very detailed, and I managed to put all my attention to my schoolwork, and I didn't really let any outside distractions bother me at all. I had very little with the other kids bothering me. Although most of my friends were girls, I was able to befriend guy friends. The fact that I was gay did make some of the students not want to hang out with me. I was also gossiped about quite frequently, but it wasn't anything that major to feeling down about any of that. I went to school, did all my classwork, went to my violin class after school, the bus home. Then, all of a sudden, there were rumors that the school I was currently going to was going to shut down. If that's true, I would be devastated at this news. I enjoyed this school very much and would have to attend another school. If the rumors and reports are true as well, that means all the students will have to be placed at an even farther school. I really enjoy how close this school is to my house, and I do not want to go to another school that's far away. I also have to make an effort to get to know the students at this new school. Kid, that's not what I wanted, and I wasn't looking forward to this at all. During the last month of school in my junior year, we were told the decision as to whether or not not the school will close will be made shortly. I couldn't stand to be in suspense during this time, hoping that the outcome would be good and I wouldn't have to move to another school. Unfortunately, the school was ultimately shut down. I remember I went home and couldn't stop crying after hearing the news. I didn't have a choice. I would have to go to another school. Whether I wanted to or not, it wasn't up for discussion. I just couldn't understand how they can let a school shut down and force all the students to go to a school that is miles away from their home. Considering the fact that the school was already quite a distance from where I lived as is. However, I couldn't complain as that was the decision the school board made. So for my senior year of high school, I had to go to a school farther away. A positive thing, I guess, was this school was even bigger than my previous school and also quite more diverse. Another thing that's great is that over 90% of the students at this school are new. I'm not the only new student, so that makes me feel proud. Going into a new school for your senior year seems overwhelming when you factor in that students that were there before you have more than likely formed cliques and are mingling with each other prior. So I was happy that the majority of the students at the school were going to be new, just like myself. My first day at this school, I will never forget, as it sort of serves as a defining point for my story, as it was this day was the first day that I met Harry. The school bus picked me up about a few blocks away from my house, and myself with other kids that went to the school in my neighborhood got on the bus. The extremely long bus ride to the school wasn't something I enjoyed, but I had to deal with it. Finally reaching school, I noticed a large number of students there. There had to have been at least 5,000 students at this school. I have never been in a school this large and had featured this many students. I just could not believe it. As I went to the school courtyard to see what my classes were, I began to people watch as the different students at the school, noticing patterns or different things that each of the students are portraying, what clothes they are wearing, what groups on the first day they have attached themselves with, things such as that. Due to the fact that I didn't have any friends, I was going to try to make sure I could study everyone at school. Upon the chance I was able to form bonds with people, I know where each of the different groups at school hung out and how they operated as well. After getting a list of my classes, I also got to the school office to get my locker combination. My locker, of course, is located a substantial amount of way from where my first class is, so this upset me slightly. On my way to my locker, I happened to have accidentally bumped into another student who was much bigger than I was. He was rather and had a clear mustache and stubble beard. Being that he was only 17 years old, I found this very strange. He also had red hair, which I found interesting as well. When I bumped into this other student, I couldn't be any more embarrassed. All my books fell onto the ground, and I was so anxious over that. I bent over and began to pick up my books, and I make contact with this other guy. He begins to help me pick up my books and hands them to me. He at this moment, while still staring deeply at me, then whispers something strange close to my face. "You should really watch where you're going, fag. I won't help you next time." I had no reaction at all. I instead stood silently as we continued to stare in silence towards each other. After that, he shoves me into the locker very hard and laughs. He then walks away, but I just stand there in silence, not knowing what to think. At this time, I was having a rush of emotions. I was attracted to this bully. I wasn't just attracted, but I was obsessed with him. Throughout the day, I just kept thinking about that ginger bully who disrespected me and shoved me into a locker. I wanted to know what his name was and where he came from. What was his story about, and what exactly was he hiding about himself? I figured that come lunchtime, I would have gotten over him and forgotten all about it. That was incorrect. I just couldn't get this guy out of my head. I knew that during lunchtime I had to make it my agenda to locate this guy. I sadly was unable to. There were far too many students at this school for me to do that. I walked all around the lunch area trying to find this mystery man, and I had no luck at all. Searching in the outside seating lunch area and going to other areas, he was simply gone. I knew that I had to just move on and that I was never going to see this guy again. Part of me was beginning to feel delusional as well. Why would I try to find a guy who called me a fag? What benefit, if any, would that prove? I was letting my crush and infatuation with him get in the way of me focusing on my classes. So I quickly changed my mind and moved on from him. However, I finally struck gold. During last period in my history class, due to the fact that class is the closest to my locker, I was the first to enter class. I ended up taking a seat at a table near the front of the class. The teacher stood at her desk greeting all the students who came in. After several students walked into the classroom, in came the mystery ginger man. He ends up sitting at the table in the far back of the class. My heart can't stop beating fast and I feel like I'm going to faint. I'm torn as to what I should do now. Do I sit by him in that table in the back, or do I simply ignore him? I act on my impulse and scared that another student may sit next to me, so I immediately grab my things and direct myself to that table. Upon reaching the table, I could see him giving me an uncomfortable look. I ignore this and end up sitting beside him. Feeling strange that he already has a mustache and a slight beard of being so young, he was also quite stocky as well and had a football player build. He was also wearing cologne, which I found strange for a guy in high school to wear. More students arrive in the class and soon the classroom is packed. There is still about 3 minutes left until class starts. I figured to myself that I at least want to know what his name was. I take quick glances at him, but he remains looking away from me, towards the front of the class. I then decide to finally introduce myself. Hi, my name is Troy. What is your name? I saw you earlier, remember? I remember he looked right in my direction and gave me a very strange look. He then grabbed my right wrist as he's still looking at me strange, silently whispers, Yeah, I know you. You're the fag from earlier. Don't talk to me, or I'll beat the fuck out of you. You don't want to mess with a guy like me. End up regretting it. Stop. Now, common sense would tell you that I should probably get up and go to another seat, or say to myself that this guy is nothing but a low-down dirty bully. However, this caused me to want to explore this man even more. My crush on him still did not go away, and instead, feelings became more severe. Class soon starts, and the teacher surprisingly does not take attendance. So I'm unable to find out what this guy's name is at all. Although I told myself that I would try extra hard to focus solely on my schoolwork, this becomes impossible. I try so damn hard not to look at a teacher as giving her a lesson, but it was extremely difficult not to. This guy really causing my emotions to go wild. I didn't even know what his name was, but that didn't matter. This mystery man went through my mind and didn't go away at all. Then over, and he immediately grabbed his things and sprinted out of the classroom. Without any hesitation, I then followed him out of class. I tried to creep and spy behind him without him knowing. I know this was wrong, but I wanted to get to know this man more. I figured it was the best way to do that. As I continued to creep behind him in the hallways of the school, I sadly ended up losing him in the process. He was once again gone, and I couldn't find him. I immediately fall to the ground of the hallways, feeling disappointed in myself. I had to snap, or else I was going to miss my bus and end up walking 10 miles. I made it to the bus before it leaves, not knowing who the red-headed guy is. On the bus ride home, I have just an incomplete feeling. I had a crush on this guy. And who could I tell? How could I express myself positively on this? Know what to do about the situation at all. My only saving hope was that he's in my last period, and I'll try again more to make magic happen, or at least I was going to attempt to. The following day, throughout the whole day, I just wanted the last period to come. I wanted to see the man of mystery again. I would get my wish finally. Last period was finally arrived, and I went to class. The teacher, however, is not present. Nobody else, in fact, was in the classroom. It was only myself present. I sat at the table in front, knowing that he was going to go to the back table, and I wanted to do my bait and switch. Ha ha! Sure enough, a few minutes later, the mystery man arrives in the classroom. He proceeds directly to the back table, and I start to get butterflies in my stomach. Not even a second later, I run to the back table to sit next to him. However, he immediately gets up, grabs his things, and relocates to another table. I start to feel agitated over this and follow him to the table he moved to. He is getting quite agitated and grabs me by the shirt collar, whispering to me, "You want to sit next to me, don't you, fag? Well, you can't. Go to another table before I pound you into next week. Go away and leave me alone. I don't want to sit next to you." I then prepare to gather my things and retreat from him to another table as he's still grabbing my collar. Just then, the teacher, Miss Michelle Walters, who was a young Caucasian blonde-haired woman, walks into the class. The guy then quickly lets go of me before the teacher directs her vision to the both of us. I remain seated and we both stay at the table quietly. The teacher then puts her things on the desk and begins to speak to the both of us. "Oh, good. So the both of you decided that you want to sit in that table. That's great. I was going to assign seats today, but it seems you guys are comfortable there. So from now on, both of you will be seated at that table. Thank you for your cooperation." When the teacher finished talking, I remember the mystery man put his hand over his forehead, shaking his head in disbelief. I was, however, very happy. This was the golden opportunity, and I was going to sit by him for the rest of the school year. We remained sitting quiet together, and more students come into the classroom. Once all the students arrive, the teacher starts to take attendance, something that she didn't strangely do the previous day. I knew that this was it. I was going to know what his name was. Once I was able to figure out his name, I would be happy just with that. Not even a few short seconds after taking the roll, the teacher called out his name. "Harry Brunner. Is there a Harry Brunner that is in this class?" The guy sitting next to me then starts to shake his head and raises his hand. I finally knew his name. His name was Harry, which I thought was so fitting due to how hairy he was. His facial hair was extremely prominent. I knew that he was also going to find out what my name was soon enough once the teacher called it. This happened soon after. "Troy Lockwood? Is Troy Lockwood currently present in class?" I immediately raised my hand, and I remember seeing in my peripheral vision that Harry was staring forward, but he smiled to himself after this. Once the class attendance was finished, we quickly got onto our schoolwork. I couldn't stop thinking about Harry, though, just like I couldn't really focus on anything other than him yesterday either. I didn't stare at him at all, and he didn't pay any attention to me. Class went by rather fast, strangely, and Harry quickly started to gather his things to leave. Like with yesterday as well, I began to follow him outside of class. The crowd of students once again made it hard for me to catch up with him, but this time I managed to keep my direction locked on him. As he continued to walk through the hallways, I noticed that he was heading straight to the football field. I still keep my direction aimed on him and follow him towards the field. Harry walks out onto the football field and sits down on the end of a bench located in the center of the football field, next to the 10 other guys. I remain spying on him from behind the bleachers section. He cannot see me at all. I start to realize that he is more than likely trying out for the senior football team. I found this very exciting, and I kept on watching him from the area I was at. I began to infatuate over him more. The fact he is a football player. I was so captivated by him after finding this fact. Several minutes later, names were called out and Harry went onto the field. The school football coach threw several footballs to Harry, and he caught each and every one of them. The coach would throw the ball at a farther yard distance after each throw, and Harry would end up catching them all. As I continue to secretly watch, I remain enthralled by what I am seeing. I was so proud that he was this involved in his athletics. Soon other guys start to do the same football drills that Harry was doing. After they are done, the coach begins to call out several names. The guys' names he was calling out were the guys that have secured a spot onto the football team. Harry's name was one that was called, and inside I was extremely happy for him. Maybe I felt biased, but to me he gave the best effort out of all the guys out there. The guys then start to grab their things and leave after this. I once again start following Harry as he walks out of the football field. Being that it is after school, most of the hallways in the class are empty, and everyone has gone home. However, I managed to catch Harry and some of the other guys from the football team walking together. Unfortunately, at this time, I end up sneezing very loud. I try to cover my face so that my sneezing isn't causing any attention, but it does not work. I remember Harry and some of the other guys he was with in football practice end up staring back in my direction. I immediately try to play it off like I wasn't following them and pretend to glance at my binder notebook. Harry doesn't end up buying this and walks over to my direction where I am. I knew he didn't believe I was standing there by chance, so I end up looking at him instead. As he walks closer to me, I begin to feel more nervous. I can't move and I can't react in any way. I end up bracing myself up against the wall in the hallway, standing in complete fear. I don't know how he's going to react. Harry starts to talk to me. "Were you following me? Why are you following me?" I can't move or speak at all. I then return to look at my binder, pretending I'm reading something from it. Harry is not pleased at all, and he creeps up closer to me. This time, he puts his hand on the wall and forcefully shoves me into the wall. Harry loudly shouts at me, "Answer me, you fag! I said, were you following me?" "So were you following me, weren't you, you little faggot?" "Why do you always want to be near me? Didn't I tell you to leave me alone? Every time I look around, I see you. I don't want to be bothered by you, fag." Without looking at Harry, I start to grab my things and walked away from the scene. However, Harry extends his leg out of my direction, causing me to slip and fall on the hard floor of the hallway. My lip starts to bleed very badly, and the guys Harry was with at football tryouts start to laugh at me. I feel extremely humiliated, and I don't know how to react. My lip continues to bleed as I pick up my books I dropped on the floor. Harry then begins to have a soft spot and starts to help pick up my books. He hands me my books, and the both of us make eye contact. For nearly a minute, I could feel the energy we both were putting out to one another. To say Henry was a bully was an understatement. He really was making my life hell, but I was so hooked by him for some reason. For the first time, Harry then smiled at me. The guys he went to football practice end up leaving the scene, but Harry and I remain in this area. I end up returning a smile to Harry. Harry then starts to wipe the blood off my mouth. As he is doing that, he begins to softly speak to me for the first time. "You like me, don't you, fag? You want me to protect you, don't you?" I don't know why, but I end up nodding my head. I feel this causes Harry to feel justified in the way he was thinking towards me. We both soon start to walk away from this area to the entrance of the school. I stand walking by Harry, not speaking to him at all. I am in total disbelief that he's finally being nice to me, although in a rather strange way. As Harry and I exit out of the front door of the school, He turns to me and asks me a question. Troy, the late bus is only for the guys on the football team. How are you going to get home? I have a car. I'll drive you home. Follow me. Oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe that he is giving me a ride home. This is all happening too fast. This seems like a scene out of a movie, and I just cannot believe any of it. We both end up walking to Harry's vehicle. He has a rather new model white Ford pickup truck. I go inside the car, and Harry starts to drive me home. I avoid looking at Harry, thinking that if I make him too uncomfortable, he will probably kick me out of his car. The ride remains silent until Harry turns to look at me and has a question on his mind. So, I made the football team. However, I need to get my grade point average up, or they're going to kick me off the team. Since you like being around me so much, fag, I want you to help me tutor me after school so I can stay on the team. If that's okay, I'll just beat you up. I end up laughing to myself. He was an ultimatum, it seems. I knew he had some sort of weak spot, and I was glad to found it. He wants academic help. I respond to Harry, all right, I'll help you with your studies, on one condition. I don't want you to bully me at school anymore. I'll help you, but you can't be acting like a bully around me. Deal? Harry then pulls his truck over and has an angered look on his face. He turns the ignition off and turns to look at me. He angrily responds back, hell no, crap. Unlike you, I have friends at that school. If I start acting nice to you, faggot, they're going to think we're a couple. I just said that. I'm sorry. Now the deal is, if you want to hang out with me, you got to do my classwork. Deal? I was not satisfied or happy with this. I did not think this was a fair deal at all. So not only do I have to help a guy who bullies school with his classwork, he's still going to continue to bother and badger me regardless. That just didn't seem fair, but life isn't fair usually. I really liked Harry, and I guess I understood where he was coming from. He's this big, strong guy that's on the football team. I'm a wimpy gay guy, so I have to put myself in his shoes. He doesn't want to be targeted for hanging around me, and I have to stand that. I end up agreeing to Harry's deal. After he drops me off at home, he gives me his phone number, and I get his. When I went to bed that night, I thought about Harry quite a lot. This man just wouldn't stop leaving my thoughts alone. It wasn't possible for me to stop thinking of him. The next day at school, I met up with Harry during no period, and everything was normal. After class ended, we both went to the school library, and I ended up helping him with his studies. Harry was bad at practically every subject, math, science, you name it. He was a good athlete, but just a terrible book learner. Could tell he was going to be a hard case to crack. It was only the fee of me tutoring him, so I didn't expect that much. However, I wish Harry would have given me a break at least a little. He didn't know it, but my crush on Harry was also getting strong. I was only helping him with his classwork, yet I was treating this as if it were a date or something. I continue to help Harry, and it's soon time for us both to go home. Harry gives me a ride back to my home, and I say goodbye. This time, when I went to bed that night, I knew I had to let Harry know my feelings about him. I didn't want him to know things I had with Harry to be known. The crush on him gets worse every day, and I don't know how to deal with it. I told myself the next time I meet with Harry after school, I will tell him. The next day at school, I see Harry with his group of friends during lunch period. I end up finding a bench outside the cafeteria. As I'm preparing to sit down, some of Harry's friends pull the bench away, causing me to fall on the ground, and my lunch splatters all over my clothes. I look up and see Harry and his friends laughing at me. I was at first surprised that Harry did not stick up for me, but then understood the deal we had. After I pick up my lunch tray up, Harry kicks the tray out of my hand, causing it to fly across the ground. Harry and his friends laugh and walk away. I had no choice but to take the humiliation. I grab my tray and just accept the uneasy feeling of being punished. During final period, however, Harry's behavior seemed to have changed. We were doing a group and partner assignment. I helped Harry answer all the questions right, and we both got a passing grade for the group assignment. So I think as long as Harry isn't in the presence of his friends, he won't bother me as much, or at all even. After final period, Harry and I proceed to the library. We are going through all the course books and being focused on that. I hate to change the mood, but I have to say what's on my mind to him. Once a half an hour passes, I begin to feel the need to let Harry know how I really feel. I then speak to him directly and without bullshitting. Harry, there's something I need for you to know. I have a crush on you. As soon as I finish saying that, Harry slams shut his course book and angrily frowns at me. Harry then starts to grab his things and walks out of the library while whispering at me, You're such a fag. Leave me alone. The deal is off. I want no more help from you. I was afraid that something like this would end up happening. I thought the relationship that we were forming was going so well, but I guess not. I didn't mean to upset or harm him, but he clearly did not take the news well. As I am starting to grab my things, I notice that I don't have a ride home. I try to hurry up and grab my belongings so I can catch up to Harry to ask him for a ride. Even though I doubt he would agree to give me one, I rush out of the library and Harry is nowhere to be seen. I end up directing myself to the student parking lot and Harry's truck is not there. I don't have a choice. I have to take the long walk home. During the walk to my house, I just realized how I fucked up a good thing. I lost my friendship with Harry, all because I couldn't keep my feelings to myself. All I had to do was help him with his classwork instead of forming a crush on him. All of that made things worse than they needed to be. I thought that Harry is now not only going to continue me, but any hope I had of being friends with him. When I finally reach my house, I go into my bedroom. I get on my bed and just sob immensely. I feel as though I never want to go back to school again due to the hurt I'm feeling. I quickly manage to make myself feel better when I remember there's a football practice tomorrow evening on Friday. I know that Harry said that he didn't want to be tutored by me, but he didn't about me not going to his football practice. The following day at school, I tried my best to meet Harry and his group. I ate my lunch from the cafeteria and mostly hid myself in the hallways. I knew I was going to have to see Harry later in the day at class, but I was about that. At final period, I sat together with Harry and didn't say that. We were given a pop quiz for today, and I hoped that I tutored Harry enough for him to pass it. It seems like my tutoring may have helped. I glanced quickly over at Harry's test, and most of the questions he is getting right. I see no reason as to why he won't. At the end of the class that hands everyone back their tests, I end up getting an A on the test, and Harry passes the test by getting an A as well. When class ends, Harry immediately proceeds to the football field to for his football game. At this time, to not bring suspicion to myself on him, I instead go to the library to study. I decide to stay there until a few minutes before Harry's practice. After a while, I end up going to the football field to snoop on Harry. I end up hiding in the bleachers, staring at him and his teammates practice. All the guys are in the football uniforms. I continue to watch Harry during his practice. Once his practice is over, I begin to grab my things and walk back inside to the school hallways. I was feeling very happy seeing Harry play, although part of me was upset that the friendship I had with him doesn't exist anymore. I at least wanted to make amends with Harry despite that. I decided to walk back outside to the football field, and Harry is with his teammates talking to them. I continue to snoop on him without him seeing me, before I decide to actually go up and speak with him. Once Harry is alone, I walk outside to the football field. The both of us make eye contact, and Harry is not pleased. I then speak out to him. "You're really good, Harry. I saw you play. I know you don't like it when I spy on you, but I really like how you play. Listen, the reason I came up to you is that I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't want for you to feel—" Harry then shoves me down to the ground of the football field. "I thought I told you to leave me alone, fag. Didn't I tell you that? Why is that so hard for you to comprehend? I don't want you by me, and I don't want you sneaking up on me." I nod my head and start to talk away from Harry. I don't dare for a second turn my head to look at him in the process. I knew Harry was still at the field, but I pretended he wasn't there. I simply kept walking. I knew that I at least tried to make things better between the both of us. Harry just simply wasn't interested, and I had to accept this. I had to respect whichever way he was feeling. I thought it was maybe better if we weren't friends. If all he's going to do is bully me, that isn't a good relationship to have with someone. There was only one issue. The crush I had on Harry still remained. I was still unable to completely rid myself of him through my thoughts. I continued to walk away from the field, sobbing heavily, unable to come to the realization that there is nothing else I can do about this situation. I didn't want my senior year to end up like this. I also didn't want my relationship with Harry to end this way. To also be honest, I didn't want to take the long walk home. I then did something that I think was very courageous. I went back to the football field. Harry was still at the football field and a basket of footballs. He was practicing his throws. I ended up sitting at the bleachers. It wasn't long before Harry noticed that I was sitting at the bleachers watching him. He shouts over to me, "I told you to leave me alone. Go away. I don't want to be bothered." Harry then throws a football in my direction at the bleachers, nearly missing me. Even though Harry doesn't want to be bothered, I'm technically not bothering him. I take out my notebook and begin to do my homework, trying not to pay Harry any attention, although the only reason I'm in this area is to be near him. He doesn't have to know that, though. As I am continuing to do my homework, Harry continues to throw balls down the field, seeing how far he can throw each one. When Harry realizes that I'm not going anywhere, he once again throws a football at the direction of the bleachers. This time the football knocks my notebook down. Feeling agitated by this, I let Harry know exactly how I feel. "Hey, why did you do that? I'm trying to do my work. Harry, you told me to leave you alone, and I am. I'm minding my own business, doing my homework. What can you say now?" Harry then does something unpredictable and walks up to the bleachers with a football in his hand to sit beside me. He picks up my notebook that fell down on the bleachers and hands it to me. Harry and I sit next to each other silently for a few seconds. I then begin to return to doing my homework. Harry then starts to spin a football in his hand while looking down. As I keep to doing my homework, Harry then starts to stare at the work I'm doing. He picks up my workbook, skimming through all of the pages. Harry stares at the workbook, very confused. Right after that, he curiously starts to talk to me while looking at my workbook. "What kind of classwork are you doing? That looks like math. I'm not very good at it, as you know. I know I said I don't want your help anymore, but I could use it." As Harry is still looking through the workbook, I keep my eyes away from him and laugh to myself. As I write down the answer to the problems in my notebook, Harry continues to sit and spin the football in his hand. I have to feel more pressure from Harry sitting beside me. Harry throws the football up in the air and then talks to me more. "How are you going to get home? For the football players already left." I continue to stare down at my notebook, but I do respond to Harry. "Oh, that's none of your business how I'm going to get home, so don't worry about that." Harry throws the football in the air again and laughs. He then starts to softly pop the football on top of my head playfully. As he is doing that, Harry speaks to me. So, you have a crush on me? Well, that's too bad. I don't like you. I think you're an annoying faggot that can't leave me alone. That's why you came to me at practice. I did not immediately respond to Harry at all. Instead, I closed my notebook and started to put my thing away. I was beginning to feel uncomfortable, and I decided that now was the right time for me to leave. As much as I had liked Harry in my mind, I didn't enjoy the way he was teasing me about it. It was not good for my health, and I needed to leave from this situation. While I'm getting myself up from the bleachers, Harry grabs the back of my shirt. You leave when I say you can leave, fag. Where do you think you're going? Although my face was turned away from Harry, I had a wide smile on my face. I don't know why I was expecting a positive vibe towards this. Harry is nothing but a bully, and I don't need his energy in my life. But now he doesn't want me to go. This feels wrong, but it feels right at the same time. I then knew that we both could play this game. Seconds later, I turned my head and forced my lips to Harry's lips, and we both kissed. Harry immediately is stunned by his reaction and is speechless. I start to smile at him and feel that I have won his battle. I had my first kiss with Harry. It was Sam's fault for giving our hints that he was feeling the same way as well. So no, I don't fucking feel bad at all for kissing Harry. I felt so happy to have it, and I don't regret it at all. Harry shows me down on the bleachers and looks at me menacingly. I then speak to him. Don't lie and say you didn't like it. I won't tell if you won't tell. Harry frowns at me and starts to pick up my books up from the bleachers. As he is picking my books up, he softly says out something. Let me take you home. It's getting late. I end up walking with Harry to his truck, drives me to my house. Harry smiles and I walk out of the vehicle. Following this, I kept the kiss and I had with Harry a secret. Harry also stopped the bullying me. His friends didn't stop, but Harry himself stopped pestering me. We never talked about the kiss, but we were on good terms. Things kind of got complicated when Harry turned 18 that November. Being that I didn't turn 18 until April, it means that legally I couldn't do anything romantic with him, as I was still a minor and Harry was now a legal adult. I continued to tutor Harry after school, and I would come and watch his games quite regularly. Time continued to pass, and my relationship with Harry stayed positive. When I finally turned 18 was when my relationship with Harry bounced back into the infatuation I had with him before, especially since prom is coming up, graduation is coming up, and we may not see each other ever again. The thought of this scared me. I had to ask Harry if he wanted to be my prom date. I wouldn't be comfortable with myself if I didn't. When I was tutoring Harry after school one Friday, I knew this was the perfect time to bring this particular situation up. Harry had changed into his football uniform as he had a game right after I was going to tutor him. Our tutoring session was over, and I started to ask Harry the important question, but I was much too nervous about my feelings to actually go through with it. I couldn't utter out the words and was just too nervous. I then had to be strong about it. Harry, there is something I need to tell you. I wanted to know if... Harry then put his hand behind my neck and smiled. He then whispered to me, You want me to be your prom date? The answer is, of course, Troy. I would love to. I smiled back at Harry with joy. Harry then starts to gather his things. I have to get to my game. We can study later, so let's go. I'll give you a ride home after the game, okay? I silently nod to Harry, and the both of us walk to the football field. I watch Harry play, and our school ends up winning. Me and Harry meet at the bleachers after the game, and I tell him something important. Harry, my mom is out of town with her boyfriend for the weekend. I don't want to be home alone. Is it okay if I sleep over at your place? Harry smiles at me and nods his head. He then drives me to my house and I end up packing a few things. I get back into his truck on his way to his house. I couldn't believe I was going to sleep over with Harry. Chapter 5 Man of Yellow Part 2. Was I nervous that Harry invited me over to this house? Well, I guess I was a bit. I mean, it's not like I would have gotten mad if he said no. I'm not being truthful, of course. I would have been mad if Harry refused to let me come over. Anyways, I guess I'm rambling on too much over that. Harry said yes. I'm happy to sleep over. On the right to his house, I wanted his bedroom look like. You can disagree, but I feel that you can tell a lot of person from the way their bedroom is arranged. As I'm riding in his truck, I am noticing his house is quite far. Harry lives even farther from the school than I do. It was something interesting to note. Harry happened to live in a more country area than I lived in. I mean, this was Tennessee, and it is the country. It's not like the city. For many people, their property is located on a piece of land, so it's not city, it's not suburb. It's very complicated to explain. Harry's truck finally reaches up to his house, and I notice how large his house is from the outside. I didn't know Harry had such a big house, meaning to make things seem more attractive than they are, but his house is a mansion. Right outside the front door of Harry's house, one of Harry's brothers is seen lifting weights outside the... Harry, in fact, has 3 other brothers. Harry is the youngest. Second to the youngest brother, Harvey, who was 19 when I first met him, he's now 29, is the one that's lifting weights. As far as appearance, Harvey could pass as Harry's twin. It's so uncanny how the both of them look alike. However, Harry is actually younger by a year, but man, do they look exactly alike. As far as personality, Harvey is the most friendly out of the bunch of Harry's brothers. His personality is to Harry, except he is much more friendly, nicer. In my opinion, he's also a bit more engaging and welcoming than Harry is. Harvey is currently in university studying engineering, but he doesn't live at campus. He lives at home still. As I get out of Harry's truck, Harvey's still lifting his weights. I'm sure that he is aware that Harry have pulled up to the house, but he seems to zone himself out and continue on lifting his weights. Harry doesn't acknowledge Harvey and proceeds straight to the front door to unlock it. I decide to do something strange regardless of that. I walk over to Harvey and introduce myself. Hi, my name is Troy. You must be one of Harry's brothers. What's your name? Harvey continues to lift his weights, ignoring me completely. Harry walks over from the front door and grabs me by my shirt collar. As we are walking towards the vestibule of the house, Harvey is still lifting weights, not paying us any attention. Once finally in the house, Harry then closes the front door. While still standing in the vestibule, he whispers into my ear, That's Harvey. He's doing his weight training session. He does that every day around this time. It's impossible to bother him during this. He's a cool guy, though. Don't worry. I nod my head and follow Harry as he heads into the kitchen. I could sense something being cooked or baked. I couldn't quite decipher what it was. I did know that it smelled great, so it must taste delicious. Inside the kitchen, I see a bearded guy just like Harry chopping up vegetables and cooking in the kitchen. This guy was Harry's oldest brother, Louis. Louis was in his late 20s when I first met him. He's now 40 years old. Louis has thinning hair, but he, like Harry and the rest of the brothers, has red hair. Louis is also the heaviest and biggest out of all the brothers. He seems to have a great liking towards cooking, which is why he is not only a chef by profession, but he cooks most of the meals in the household. Personality-wise, Louis is not a very friendly guy at all. He constantly berates and picks on his brothers quite frequently, and he also isn't much of a social talker. Going by the beat of his own drum, he doesn't surround or engage himself towards the opinions of others. Likewise with Harvey, I attempted to introduce myself to Louis. The meal that Louis was cooking seemed to be some type of Italian dish. Spaghetti pasta with meatballs are most likely. Harry ends up grabbing 2 bottles of Budweiser beer from the refrigerator. I gaze at Louis cooking the meal. As I am walking towards Louis to say hello, Harry immediately drags me away from Louis by tugging on my shirt collar. As we are now exiting out of the kitchen, heading to the backyard, Harry yet again whispers to me, "That's Louis. Don't ever talk to him. He's loco. But every dish he makes is delicious." I nod my head to accept what Harry said. We continue on to the backyard where I see another one of Harry's brothers. He's tossing a football across the backyard. This is Leaf. Leaf is the second to oldest brother, and he looks like a much younger version of Louis and kind of an older version of Harry. However, Leaf isn't as mean as Louis is. Leaf also has a beard just like the rest of the Brunner brothers do. Leaf, identical to Harry, is very invested in football, and that's what he's going to university for. Leaf is 21 years old, and he's in his junior year of university. He wanted to be drafted into the NFL. That sadly never happened. Although he came relatively close to achieving that dream, it just wasn't meant to be. Leaf is now in his 30s, and he eventually stopped throwing the football and walked over to where Harry and I were placed. Unlike with the other brothers, Leaf actually approached me and began to introduce himself. Leaf stuck out his hand for me to shake and happily spoke to me. "Who are you? Are you one of Harry's friends? I'm his brother Leaf. Nice to meet you." I end up shaking Leaf's hand, smiling at him. Really enjoying his friendly energy, I then decide to introduce myself to him while I'm still shaking his hand. "Yes, I'm his friend, Troy. I'm going to be spending the weekend with you guys." Leaf nods his head to accept what I said and goes back to throwing the football. I really enjoyed meeting Leaf, as he was the most open out of all the brothers. I stand outside the patio entrance of the backyard, however. Harry walks over to where his brother is. Harry and Leaf then began to speak in a hushed tone, and I was able to hear exactly what they were saying. I had an idea they were possibly having trivial talk about me, but I wasn't exactly certain. After a short while, Harry and Leaf walk over the area I was in, and Leaf starts to talk to me. "All right, if you need anything, just ask, okay? You're our guest, so make it home. We don't bite. Well, except Louis. Never mind him. Nice to meet you, Troy." I shake Leaf's hand one more time, and Harry and I both proceeded up to his bedroom. As we were walking up the staircase, there was something plaguing my mind rather badly. I noticed that Harry didn't introduce me to his parents, nor mention them at all. I didn't think there was anyone left in the house he neglected to introduce me to, so this was something that I was feeling very curious. So as we were walking up the stairs to Harry's bedroom, I asked him a question and concern that I believed that he was avoiding to mention. Harry, where are your mom and dad at? I mean, you introduced your brothers to me, and that's very nice, but where is your mother and father? Do they work a lot?" Harry had a disappointed look on his face and remained quiet, not replying to my question. As we were walking up the stairs, it was like he almost didn't hear me ask that question. He just wished I didn't bring it up, which part of me dreaded bringing up. If it was going to cause this trouble, I never would have opened my mouth. When we reached his bedroom, he stopped for what seemed like a minute. Harry was refusing to answer the question about his parents, and he seemed to not want to discuss it. I knew the story behind it must have been extremely hard for him to explain detail about. Harry then turned and looked at my direction, and I just stood in silence, confused. He turned to his bedroom door, proceeding to turn the doorknob. He then returned his vision back to me. Harry then finally decided to open up about my question and explain why he didn't mention his parents. They died when I was 3 in a car crash, okay? Me and my brothers were all little. They worked for the Peace Corps, and were in South Africa driving a Humvee when it crashed. I don't talk about it. Now don't ask me about my parents ever again. I felt a slight feeling of guilt after Harry explained the whole situation. I couldn't imagine losing both of my parents young, so that must have been a huge deal with. I later found out that Harry's grandparents would supervise and act as a guardian for brothers after their parents' death. By the time both of his grandparents had passed, Louis was already a legal adult. Those which belongs to their parents passed on to them. I don't know about the death of Harry's parents. I didn't want to pressure him too much about this. This event I could understand that causes great grief, and I'm not the type of person to trouble someone due to things such as that. Now that we are in Harry's bedroom, I notice how his room is decorated. I see posters of rock bands on the wall, and I also see many sports collectible items as well. I end up sitting at Harry's desk, and he hands me one of the beers he got from the kitchen. Being that neither Harry or I were of drinking age at the time, I guess it was nice for us to sin, if only for a moment, by participating in underage drinking. I mean, it was just one beer. Harry does manage to get his beer open, but I struggled trying to get the bottle cap off. Feeling embarrassed, I couldn't believe how weak I was, that I couldn't even open a beer bottle. Harry takes several sips of his beer before noticing that I am struggling to open the bottle. After realizing that I'm having issues, he walks over to his desk where I'm seated and snatches the bottle out of my hand. Harry manages to open the bottle without any issue within a flash of a second and hands the bottle back to me. Harry then laughs at me and goes over to his bed, setting the beer bottle on the side table. As I'm sitting at Harry's desk, I began to open up my workbook. I knew I had a lot of homework to do, so I didn't want to waste any time at all neglecting to do it. Even though Harry was laying down on his bed relaxing, I knew he also had homework to do and offered to help him out. Did you need help with your homework? Since we have to do the same assignment, I figured I would tutor you. If there was a section you needed to help on, I don't mind. Harry then gets up from his bed, walks over to his closet area to pick up a football. He then takes the football back over to his bed and lays down again. While lying down, Harry takes the football and throws it up in the air, while responding to the question I asked him. No, I don't. Fuck school. I fucking hate homework. I just want to play football and become filthy rich at doing that. I don't give a fuck what you do, but I don't want to talk about classwork. Fuck graduation, too. That's just not my style. Feeling disappointed that Harry has little concern of his schoolwork, I wondered if I should persuade him in thinking otherwise. I cared about his future, and I understand that football is a major passion for him. I do. However, his schoolwork and his academics are just as important, if not more important. His football career is not guaranteed, but his education is. There was no way I could just let Harry think like that and allow him to have that mindset and agenda towards his future. I have to make sure he understands as I care about him. While I continue on doing the homework assignment, I try to use my powers of persuasion on Harry. But Harry, if you don't graduate, that means you're a quitter. I know you care about football, but I care about your education, Harry. That's more important. If you drop, that means you're a quitter. You don't want to be a quitter, right? Now get your ass over here and do these damn problems. It seemed to have worked as Harry got out of bed and sat next to me at the desk. I worked on a homework assignment for about an hour and a half until Louis knocked on the door informing us that dinner was ready. We decided to temporarily suspend doing our homework and proceeded down to the dining room to eat dinner. All of Harry's brothers and myself were situated at the table, eating. For the first few minutes of the meal, everyone was quiet, and they didn't even realize that I was present at the table with them. However, it wasn't long until Louis became way too curious for his own purpose. Louis takes a sip of wine and decides to speak to me. Harry doesn't have friends. None of us do. You're the first person that Harry has brought home from school. It's your story. Don't lie either. I don't like liars. I take a few bites of food and feel uncomfortable. Louis is talking to me, but I do manage to stay polite on to what he said. Well, I don't know. What can I say? I'm just Harry's friend, and we just happen to click. I think you have to ask Harry that, and not me. Louis takes another swallow of wine and continues to pry at me. Well, are you attracted to him? Are you his bitch or something? I'm not trying to judge, but I like to call a spade a spade. Harry isn't the fag, just so you know. Harry then gives Louis a look of disgust and then angrily back at him. Lou, shut the fuck up and leave him alone. You don't talk to company that. Louis then pours himself yet another glass of wine and swallows it. I don't launch towards him and continue to eat, but I know that Louis is staring at me rather deeply. Louis then continues on. Well, it's unusual for you to bring for Harry. That's not you. Nobody even likes you. You always say how the other kids at school avoid you. But if I didn't know any better, I think you guys were boyfriends. I don't give a fuck, though. This time, Harry immediately launched up like a tiger, ready to attack, and threw Louis onto the ground. Me, Harvey, and Leaf get up from the top. Even though Harry and Louis were wrestling and fighting each other on the ground rather violently, we managed to get them to knock it off, without any of them causing us harm to one another. He takes the bottle of wine off the table and his plate of food and begins to walk upstairs to his bedroom. Myself, Harry, Harvey, and Leaf all go to the table. Harry covers his hands over his face and looks down at the table feeling upset. He then tries to comfort me. He's drunk, so it's okay. He usually is like that when he has been drinking. Just give him some time to cool off. He doesn't hate you. He's just drunk. I nod my head to acknowledge everything that Harry took in. After a couple of minutes or so, Harvey and Leaf end up excusing themselves away from the table, taking their plates with them. I felt bad about this whole ordeal, feeling responsible that I was the one who ruined their dinner. Harry and I sat at the dining room table together, silent. None of us are touching our food or eating. It is an awkward and strange vibe, and it doesn't seem right. I honestly deeply feel that Harry is keeping something from me, so I start to pester him about it. What's wrong? Is everything okay? Was it something I did? You want me to go home? I didn't mean to ruin dinner. I'm sorry, Harry. I'll get my things and you can take me home. Right after saying that, Harry puts his hand over his head and starts to talk to me. Louis is really thinking about selling our house. He wants to move to California before the end of the summer is out. He doesn't like Tennessee and wants to move out of here. He says with the money we get from this house, we can use that money to move to California. He wants to start his own restaurant, and he's really convinced, so I don't know what to do." Harry was not very optimistic about moving to California and agreeing with his brother to sell the house and moving to another state. He was happy and comfortable in his own hometown and didn't want to make a drastic change like that. It was tough because something like this isn't any of my business, and I didn't feel comfortable offering advice to a family situation that didn't involve or pertain to me at all. I was also thinking sort of selfishly about it. The fact of the matter is, if Harry were to move to California, I wouldn't be able to see him much anymore. I would be on the other side of the country, away from him. The thought of losing a close friend like Harry was making me feel sad. However, that wasn't a valid excuse to the current situation. This decision isn't mine to make or persuade. If he and his brothers do decide to end up moving, that's just the way it is, and no amount of crying or complaining is going to change that. Harry and I end up sitting at the table for what seems like an hour. I understand that he's troubled, and he doesn't want to move away, but there is nothing I can do but be understanding. We manage completing our meal, and we leave from the table back up to Harry's bedroom. Once back in his room, we returned to doing our homework assignment. I didn't talk about or discuss any of the family affairs that Harry was going through, understanding that these types of discussions and situations bring him much sadness. While doing the assignment, I start to also think about prom. Harry did accept my prom invitation, and if Harry were to move away, I would take the prom as a way for me to say goodbye to him. Bringing up the prom at this time didn't seem correct, so I refused to talk about it. I would just discuss prom with Harry sometime later, not now though. Although I didn't want Harry to move, if he had to move, I didn't want to take whatever little time I had left with him for granted. Getting later onto the night, we both finished our homework. Even though it was late, I wasn't feeling tired at all. It was like creeping up at almost midnight, and I wasn't even sleepy. I ended up playing an adventure video game on Harry's computer, and it's rather addicting. I get lost playing the game and spend a bit of time playing. Harry, although, is tired and fatigued. I then look over at him, and he has his head on the desk, drifting in and out of staying awake. This continued for half an hour of Harry resting down at his desk, falling asleep and waking up repeatedly. He finally walks over to the other side of the bedroom, feeling completely exhausted and tired, and changes into his sleepwear. Puts a bunch of blankets on the floor down next to his bed. I seem confused as to why he is doing this. Harry then prepares to lay down on the floor while talking to me. "I'm going to sleep on the floor. You can sleep on my bed. I don't have goodies, so it's okay. You can sleep on my bed when you get tired. If you get hungry, you know where the kitchen is, and you can help yourself to whatever you want. I'm going to go to bed now." While I'm playing the game on his computer, I have my head at Harry. Harry does end up falling asleep on the floor, and I continue to play the video game. An hour and a half, I start to feel tired, and I change into my pajamas. I then fall asleep on Harry's bed. Next morning, I notice that Harry is not in the bedroom. Feeling rejuvenated, I get out of bed and direct myself to the kitchen. Harry and Louis are arguing very loudly and violently. I notice that Harvey is eating a bowl of cereal in the living room watching. I go and sit next to him. When Harvey notices that I'm seated on the sofa, he starts to converse with me. "Good morning. You want some cereal? Come on, I'll make you a bowl." I follow Harvey in, where the sound of Harry and Louis arguing in the background is very dominating and overwhelming. It is difficult for me to zone out their fighting, but I managed to do it somehow. Harvey used to get me a bowl from the cabinet and a carton of milk that was in the refrigerator. He then hands me the cereal box, and I start to prepare myself a bowl of cereal. I don't pay any attention at all to Harry fighting, as I didn't feel it was my place to get into there. Whatever they are discussing, most likely and definitely has nothing at all to do with me. I grab my bowl, and I start to head towards the living room with Harvey. Once the both of us are seated, Harvey eats his cereal next to me. I'm sorry about that. They don't get along, and they fight like that all the time. I just ignore it. I don't even notice they are doing it sometimes. We are going to be moving soon, and it's something we all have to accept. Louis got a restaurant offer in California. What Harvey was saying was correct. The main reason for the brothers moving is Louis' career. He was trying to open and own his own restaurant in Tennessee. He had an even better offer to open his own restaurant in Los Angeles. Alongside that, Louis also received an offer to house that he just simply couldn't refuse. Louis is 100% on board with the decision, and he has pretty much finalized that. Leaf and Harvey, on the other hand, are neutral and sort of slightly agree more with Louis. Harry, however, is not at all happy with this decision and doesn't want to move. Being happy where he currently is in Tennessee, moving to California is not on his agenda or in his wishes. I did know that whatever decision was made, I had no control over this, as this wasn't my situation to get involved in. I was simply Harry's friend. I was nothing more or less. It was interesting being an unofficial member of the family, as I am in the middle of a family dispute. I decided to kindly respond to Harvey anyways. Oh, wow, that's rather heavy. So you guys are going to move to California? That's far. It's going to be tough to say goodbye to Harry. I really enjoy having him as a friend. Although I had no say in whatever matters were taking place, it was still entertaining to witness nevertheless. It was sort of exciting in that regard. Throughout the rest of the weekend, Harry continued to fight with Louis. I didn't let that destroy my stay as a guest, though. I interacted with Harry's other brothers, and we seemed to click just fine. Louis, although he was a jerk in a general sense, was an extremely good cook. That Saturday night that I stayed over as a guest, he ended up making the best barbecued chicken I ever tasted. They had a huge grill in their backyard, and Louis took full use of it. So despite the fact that I didn't care for Louis personally, his cooking was absolutely perfect. I understand completely why he wants to open his own restaurant in California, as his talent clearly shows. I was really enjoying my time at Harry's place, despite the few times where he and Louis would bout and bicker with each other. I just simply removed myself from the both of them when they got into it, and didn't pay them any attention. The following Sunday seemed rather boring. Some of the brothers were doing yard work, and Louis actually was gone most of the day. He went to church. I interacted with Harry very little in his room, but for most of the day, he was in the backyard playing football with Leaf. Louis later came back to the house from church that night and cooked an amazing dinner. Fried chicken with mashed potatoes and grilled vegetables. It was so good, and I've never in my life had fried chicken that tasted that good. Once I finished eating, Harry offered to drive me back home. We had school the following day. I end up saying goodbye to all of Harry's brothers, and Harry takes me back home. I had an amazing time, and I will forever remember the first time I met his family, and how crazy it was. For the following weeks, my interaction with Harry seemed to weaken. I would see him during a final period as usual, but we wouldn't engage in any personal matters. I also ended up forming a tutoring group after school with other students, including Harry. So our tutoring sessions, which in the past seemed very intimate between just Harry and I, now were not the case. So after-school tutoring became strictly academic focused and had nothing to do with the relationship that Harry and I had. Despite the fact that Harry would give me a ride home from school every day, he simply was struck up my chauffeur. He was no longer my close friend. I don't mean to relay this in any negative or bad way. That is just how it simply seemed. I'm sure that the pressure and turmoil of him having to move away might have something to do with it, most likely. In addition to that, I still have not brought up prom any further with Harry yet. Prom to go. With Harry being my official prom date, we have not talked about anything related to that. That is, if Harry is even interested in going to the prom with me anymore. Based on recent events, he probably doesn't. Not because he hates me or wants to avoid me, it is mostly due to he has the moving issue, and prom is something not on his agenda. What I feel doesn't really. I was looking forward to prom so I could spend my last moments with Harry before he went away. That was thinking very selfishly, though. If he doesn't want to go anymore because of family issues, I have to simply accept that and not be angry over his decision. You cannot force someone to do something they don't wish to do. That includes forcing Harry to go to prom without fully understanding the family issues that he has to deal with. Everything is always about me, and it's Harry's decision at the end of the day. This is something I simply need to understand. I wanted to try to discuss the prom with him regardless, and how we were going to arrange that. One evening, as Harry was driving me home after class, I wanted to know his honest opinion about prom. If he said no, then that's something I'm going to just have to accept. I remember sitting in Harry's truck, afraid of the topic. To do it. So Harry, as you know, prom is next Friday. He didn't mention about still wanting to attend. I mean, if you don't want to go, you don't have to, but I would like for you to. Please? While he's still driving, smiles at what I said. I felt relieved that he wasn't upset or aggravated by me and bringing up prom. Harry turns his head in my direction, and now that it is official that prom is still active, I can ease my mind. Although Harry were taking a drastic turn, all of the brothers, including Harry, reluctantly decided to agree to the move to California. They were going to move a week after graduation, so that means I only have a very short time with Harry before he moves to the other side of the country, and I may sadly not ever see him again. Time refuses to stand still, and that's how life is. The prom arrives, and I put on a very nice ensemble my mother picked out. A nice suit and tie, something that I rarely wear. Being that it's senior prom, I need to dress nicely. Eventually arrives at my house and picks me up. Harry also wearing a rather dapper suit and tie, and he can pull off wearing a suit well. We end up driving to the prom. I was so shocked, surprised that literally nobody was there. You would think for a big event like the prom, the gymnasium would be jam-packed with students. There were literally like 20 other students, with myself and Harry included. A possible reason for this is that the school district allowed students, if they wish, to go to the prom at another school closer to their home. There were rumors that rival schools had a live DJ and other goodies, so most of the students probably went to prom elsewhere. Our school didn't have those amenities. We had a cheese and cracker sampler plate and watered-down punch. No DJ or anything. Just a loop of the radio playing the top 40 hits. But I didn't care. Me and Harry got to experience prom, and it was nice. Wait, hold on. I'm leaving an important detail out. Some of Harry's jerk friends decided to crash the prom. As a prank, one of Harry's friends, Sam, who is a chubby, bald-headed guy who hung around Harry at school frequently, threw the punch bowl over my head while me and Harry were dancing to hip-hop music, and I was covered in a nasty, sticky, watered-down punch. Sam began to make fun of me. "Oops, I'm sorry. Did I do that? My mistake. I didn't mean to interrupt your romantic dance together. How rude of me." I was so embarrassed after having the punch doused on me, I didn't know how to react. And after looking at Harry, he was also extremely angered over this. I feel no matter what I do, I'm always being attacked for no reason. Those assholes just had to bother us for no reason. Evil works in strange ways, and I have really had it. Now you know I was very fired up after that. I had to vent out my frustrations to them. "Fuck you guys. You guys are a bunch of fucking big babies. Grow the hell up." Harry also refused to hold back and also angrily shouted out, "Wow, really? What assholes? Why the fuck do you do that to him? We weren't even bothering you. You guys are such pieces of shit." Harry takes his handkerchief and starts to wipe some of the punch off my hair and takes some napkins, trying his best to dry me off. He then softly consoles me. "Never mind them. They are just white trash. Those guys need to grow the fuck up." I end up smiling at Harry due to him protecting and comforting me, because the prom was unsupervised, which I have no idea why that was. None of the teachers came to punish the guys who did that. As soon as Harry realized the prank his friend pulled, they ran out of the gymnasium, and Harry followed them out. Despite the fact I was covered head to toe in the punch, I scattered with them as well. His friends end up at the football field where they stop running. At this time, Sam then begins to heckle both me and Harry. "We thought your boyfriend needed a bath, Harry. We were doing him a favor." Harry then punches Sam in the face, which then causes some of Harry's other friends to attack Harry. I stand frozen in place, unable to react due to all these events. As I'm watching Harry and his friends go back and forth from beating each other up, seconds into this, Sam manages to lift me up and carries me outside the football field, shouting as he's doing it, "Hey Harry, since you're moving away, that gives us more time to play with your little boyfriend. As a matter of fact, we're going to play a little fun game with him right now." I am completely terrified and scared of the unknown. Harry yells out to Sam, "Don't you dare hurt him. Let him go." I scream out for Harry to help me, and he does. Runs in the direction Sam and I are. Despite the fact that other friends are trying to restrain him from coming after me, he quickly fights them off. Sam directs me over to his truck, and I sit in the passenger seat. He ties my hands and legs together, and I'm physically unable to move or escape. Opens up his glove compartment and begins to douse me in lighter fluid. Not able to be completely clear with my thoughts, I just sit silent and bound. I think of crying out to Harry, but it's not like he can hear me anyway. Sam from the school. As I'm riding in Sam's truck, scared as to what he's to do with me, he speaks to me. "We're just going to play a little prank on you. We're not going to hurt, and you're not going to die. You're going to wish you were dead, though." I really wish I wasn't tied together, or else I would have tried to run myself out of the car. I, however, cannot move due to the fact they tied me together. In the rearview mirror and see the rest of the bullies following Sam in their vehicle. However, my glimmer of hope comes when I see Harry's truck also following us, and I'm praying that he is to save me from all of this, and I don't end up getting hurt from whatever trick Sam and his gang are intended to play. We remain on the road for about 20 minutes when Sam finally pulls over to what looks like an abandoned farmhouse. Being that it is so late at night, it makes the farmhouse seem like a hunting location. Sam turns off the ignition and opens the passenger side door, carrying me outside the truck. He ends up taking me to the front porch of the abandoned house, tying a rope around my neck, and puts the other end of the rope on a hook on a post hanging outside the porch. After Sam does this, he pours lighter fluid on me. Seconds, Harry and the rest of the bullies arrive at the scene. Harry then screams out to Sam, "Don't you hurt him! Don't you do anything to him! Leave him alone, now!" Harry tries to run after me, but Sam takes a baseball bat, striking it at the back of Harry's head, while the impact stuns and knocks Harry out. Now that Harry is immobilized, Sam then starts to light the rope my neck is attached to. Before he does, he starts to shout out, "You took Harry away from us. You made him soft. He's not a faggot, and you made him one. So we're going to take Harry away from you. Harry isn't going to want you anymore after we burn you to a crisp. We won't kill you, but we're going to teach you a lesson you won't forget." Once Sam finishes talking, he takes a large lighter and prepares to ignite the rope that's attached to my neck. The end of the rope has to be about 20 feet, so it wasn't very long, and the fire would spread to me very quickly. Before the rope is able to be lit, Harry unexpectedly rises up from being knocked down and pins Sam down on the floor. The two remaining guys in Sam's group try to get Harry off him, but Harry takes the same baseball bat he was knocked with to strike both of them. Sam recovers from being pinned on the floor and goes over to the rope to light it. I honestly don't think Sam was trying to seriously harm me, though. I don't know. Maybe he was just trying to scare me. Harry tries to stop Sam from lighting the rope, but he's sadly a second too late. Sam laughs and teases by flicking a lighter flame, but remarkably, Sam ends up being badly burned by the fire instead, and ends up igniting himself instead of the rope I was attached to. Harry then takes off his suit jacket to extinguish the flames off Sam. Luckily, Sam survives, thanks to Harry's diligence. During this time, the remaining guys in Sam's group both get in their vehicles and leave. Once the flames have been snuffed off Sam's body, Harry runs over to where I'm hung and begins to free me. Immediately after this, Harry takes Sam's badly burned body and asks me to help to carry him to Harry's truck. He puts Sam in the back seat of Harry's truck, and Harry drives him to the hospital. We arrive at the hospital, and Harry and I carry Sam inside the emergency room. Harry lies to the hospital staff that we were all doing a senior prank and it went wrong. Although Sam is badly burned, he's not unconscious and could hear Harry lying to the nurses and doctors at the hospital. Sam is immediately wheeled into the operating room. Harry and I sit in the waiting room in shock. Several hours later, one of the doctors later approached us and explained to us that Sam is going to be fine. And although his burns were bad, luckily the burns were not that life-threatening. Sam's friends reach the hospital and they quickly make amends with Harry and I and beg us not to inform the police about the situation. Harry already informs them that he told the hospital staff they were playing a prank which got out of hand. We all agreed to go along with this lie. Sam's parents reached the hospital and we all explained the same story to them. Hours later, Harry and I went to Sam's recovery room. Sam immediately apologized to both of us. "I'm sorry. I don't know what got over me. Please forgive me. I won't bother any of you again. I'm in so much pain, and I'm so sorry. Please forgive me." Sam begged me not to press charges on him. I decided not to, as Sam being burned, I figured taught him a lesson, and I don't think he really wanted to harm me. I wanted to completely forget about the situation. I ended up leaving the hospital and he proceeds to drive me home. I couldn't believe that the senior prom ended up being like this. This could perhaps been the final time that I could be with Harry, and it is a shame it ended on these terms. I end up saying goodnight to Harry, and Harry hit me on the cheek. As I'm walking to my door, I look back at Harry, who seems very sad. Harry then gets out of his truck and gives me a big hug. I can't stop crying because I don't want to lose Harry. He's going to be moving away, and I won't be able to see him again. Once I am finished hugging Harry, I walk inside and immediately walk up myself to bed. It wasn't hard for me to sleep as I've had an exhausting night, but I still was anxious that Harry was going to go, and our senior prom moment was ruined. It didn't plan out exactly the way I had intended. Disaster. With now only being 2 weeks left of school, with graduation soon approaching around the corner, my days with Harry are numbered. Harry and his brothers are currently packing all their stuff in preparation for them to move. As soon as graduation is over, he and his brothers are moving to California, and there is nothing I can do about it. I will be stuck here in Tennessee, and I don't know if I am going to see Harry again. I spend my last days tutoring Harry, making sure his grades are all set. I also want to explore all his weak points, as if he fails his final exams, he won't graduate. However, I'm confident that Harry will do just fine. I distinctly remember our last tutoring session. It was the day before final exams and 3 days before graduation. I was simply overwhelmed with the prep. My time with Harry is limited. Trying my best to hold back the tears, I just couldn't. I began sobbing heavily, and Harry was shocked to see me. I immediately buried my head in his chest, crying out to him, "I don't want you to move. I don't know what I'll do. I'm going to miss you so much. You've been such a good friend, Harry. I'm really going to miss you. Oh." Harry starts rubbing my head, and I just refuse to accept that he's going away forever. Being here with him, I feel very safe. Bittersweet as he's going to be leaving me. I thought I had already gotten past this, but I hadn't. No matter what tactic is, I'm always going back to my depressive state on the thought of Harry going away. I continue as Harry's comforting me. Harry then says something which calms me down. "You know, Troy, I was talking with Louie and my brothers. The house we're moving to has plenty of room. Move to California with us. Only if you're, I would like for you to move with us, but if you can. But I'm inviting you to move with all of us." I immediately take my head away from Harry's chest and start jumping for joy around the library. I'm completely ecstatic and jubilant, weight lifted shoulders, almost too excited to speak. I answer Harry with much glee and joy. "Oh, yes, I would love to move with you. Thank you so much. I can't believe we're going to stay together. We're not going to lose each other. I'm so happy. Yes." Harry smiles at me and he's shaking his head laughing. He then responds to me, "I figured that. Come sit down. We still have a lot of studying to do so we can pass finals." I end up returning to my seat, although still feeling hyper from everything. Harry and I continue on with our studying. It was impossible for me to take the thought of moving with him away from my mind. That was the best news I have ever received in my life. I couldn't believe that I'm going to move to California with Harry. I no longer felt that uncomfortable feeling inside of me that he was going to leave me forever. Harry and I finished a tutoring session and he drives me home. After explaining the situation to my mother, She seems supportive and doesn't mind if I move to California. I will miss her much, but I'll still keep in contact with her. Living in Tennessee was nice, and this is my home and my birthplace. But it's great that I'm going to start my new life over in a new place and in a new state. I'll also be doing it with my best close friend, so I couldn't be happier about it. After graduation, I was going to start a new life in California with Harry, to where the possibilities are going to be endless. During final exams, I was confident that I was going to pass all of them with flying colors. I did. As far as my college plans, I didn't have any. I wasn't sure as to what I wanted to do, and now moving to California, I am still rather unsure of what my intentions are going to be. One thing I do know for sure is that I'll have Harry and his brothers for support, and have a place to stay. Harry finished his final exams without any issue. All my tutoring paid off. I understand that football is a big deal for Harry, and I don't know if he wants to still pursue that or not. I guess that's a decision for Harry to make on his own. My high school graduation was very nice. When my name was called to receive my high school diploma, I was happy to finish high school. I survived school, and everything that happened in the past is what it is. Not only did I graduate high school, but as an added bonus, I made a lifelong friend in the process. It was so nice to finally have a high school behind me. My senior year was really wild. I can go back to the first day that I met Harry. He was nothing but a bully, and now he's a really close friend of mine. After graduation, I went to Harry's house, and me, along with his brothers, had a big party to celebrate. I later began to pack all of my things to move to California. It was a big move, but I was prepared for it. Harry and I both had to put our college or university decisions on hold to solely focus on this move. It seems like a big whirlwind, but we ended up driving from Tennessee to Los Angeles. As myself and Harry and his brothers reached the house we would be staying at, I was happy with it. The only thing I was slightly ticked off at was I asked where my bedroom was. I didn't have one. Harry lied and said I would have my own bedroom when I didn't. So I ended up sharing a room with Harry. I don't know if this was a trick for me to end up agreeing with the move or what. No matter, because nearly 10 years later, Harry is my boyfriend, and I love this man. Despite everything that we have been through, all the troubles we had when we first met, it feels like a dream, but I know everything does have a waking out. I will grow old with him, and he will never get rid of me. Haha. Moving to California at first was a big trend. I mean, I do like the weather here, but the people are definitely more attractive. It is very much more a place where attractive people are, and attractive people mingle. And is completely health conscious here as well. I just wanted to see the beach. That was my main thing. The first day we arrived in California, I asked Harry if he and his brothers wanted to visit the beach, and they all agreed. So we had a beach party, having a wonderful time. Seeing the Pacific Ocean for the first time was very nice. It was a tough adjustment coming from an area such as Tennessee to Los Angeles, California. It wasn't long before I got used to everything. This was my home now, and I came to quickly accept it. As far as school, I decided to go to community college. Anything that interested me. I studied many things. Why should I study for a degree that I don't want and I'm interested in? That is just a complete waste of time to not only myself, but in general. I had to say that he did end up going to the college to play football, but nothing serious ever came of it. He would end up taking odd jobs now, but the football thing never took off. So as much as we hoped that moving to California might expand our academic lives, it really didn't. That's okay though, as we're not to drag us down. It just wasn't meant to be. So I guess the rest is history. Louis ended up opening his restaurant after all, and his restaurant is still well. Leaf did not end up going on to the NFLs, but he is a school gym teacher. Harvey ended up being a construction worker and enjoys it. As for Harry, Harry became a butcher at a grocery store. Kind of strange of he ended up in a similar position that his brother was in, working with food. He also works with Louis as well in a restaurant as a chef. You're going to have to hear Harry's story to find out how that happened, and it's rather strange. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of stuff, but oh well. This is all that I can remember, and Harry, I'm sure will cover all the stuff I neglected to mention. But yeah, Harry enjoys his job though. As for me, I guess I ended up with a boring job. I work at a large department store selling housewares and things like that. I mean, it's a job. I go to work and come home to my man. Me, Harry, and his brother still live in LA, and we are all one big happy family. We like it like that, and there are no complaints. However, the complete story doesn't end with me. This is just my part. I don't know Harry's side of it, and he's probably going to bring up something else I didn't mention. I am sure of that. I'm just happy with this part of my life. The reason I wanted to tell my story is that even growing up as a boy, being flamboyant and fabulous, being told that I was not allowed to perform in the talent show, just things like that from an early age, which I could have given up and said that I'm always going to be last and nobody is going to care about me. I'm glad I didn't give up. Although when I first met Harry, he was a bully, it's strange how our relationship blossomed from that. Now to present day, I sleep with this man every night. I see him come home from work every night, and I'm glad to have him with me. This isn't how I envisioned my life at first, but I'm glad that this is how it panned out. Chapter 10, Man of Red, Part 1. Part 1. Pink, Part 1. A few Mullins was very nice and I had no issues in the class. I could definitely get used to having her for first period every day, and the interaction that the both of us shared was good. The amount of homework she gave us wasn't that bad either, and if we had any questions, she would also answer them. I couldn't say the same for the rest of my teachers. They were all very strict to me and ran a tight ship. I feel that teachers are either really nice or they are really mean. It's rare you'll find a teacher that's in between. They are either one way or they are the other. At lunch, as suspected, all the students sat according to their clique or group. Because I wasn't a member of any of these groups, I ended up sitting by myself in the back of the cafeteria. This was very depressing, as I was alone eating. I had gotten used to it at this point, and it was cool. Once I finished eating my lunch, I went to the courtyard outside of the school and sat by a nice shaded tree. I just started to read. I had no friends, so there was nobody for me to mingle with during lunch period. I was feeling the sun on my face, enjoying the fall weather, and getting myself used to the first day of school. I knew that after lunch, I would have one final period. It was biology with Mr. Pankowski. It's so weird saying his last name, but I kind of wanted to be fruitful for a bit. His name is Steven, but at this time he was Mr. Pankowski, and he's still Mr. Pankowski to me. The bell for final period rings, and I end up walking to Mr. Pankowski's class for the first time, not realizing my life will never be the same after this. As I reached Mr. Pankowski's class, I noticed that I'm the first one in the class, and the whole entire room is empty. For no apparent reason, I end up taking a seat right in front of his desk in the front row, and then to begin to take my notebook out. A few moments later, more of the students begin to enter the classroom. Once the classroom is full with many students, Mr. Pankowski enters the room sipping a paper cup of coffee. Mr. Stephen Pankowski, I remember the first time I met him. He was 27 at the time, but he looked a lot older. He was bald and rather slender. He wore glasses and he had a geeky frame to him. The outfit he wore on the first day of school was a white shirt with a blue tie and black to press pants. The very first time I laid my eyes on him, I had a feeling that I could not understand. Whether I wanted to admit it or not, I had a crush on him. As Mr. Pankowski set his briefcase and his coffee cup down on his desk, he began to write his name on the whiteboard behind him. All the other students in the class are caterwauling, but I'm not. I'm silent and attentive, keeping all my attention on him only. After Mr. Pankowski writes his name on the board, he then shouts out to the class, "All of you shut the hell up. That's enough of that." The classroom immediately becomes silent, and all the students stop their chit-chatting. Mr. Pankowski examines all the students in the class and notices that a couple of girls in the classroom are whispering to each other. Mr. Pankowski then exposes them aloud. Ladies, if you think I'm going to let the both of you talk while I'm trying to teach, think again. Now, I want this entire classroom quiet, and I want it quiet now. Some of the students then begin to snicker and laugh at what Mr. Pankowski said. Mr. Pankowski then reaches in his desk and takes out a stack of papers. He then separates the stack into several other multiple giant stacks, each stack to the student sitting in the front desk at each row, with each student taking one packet and passing it to the student behind them. Being that I am situated at one of the desks in front, I knew to hand me a stack. When he does in fact do so, this is the first time I make eye contact with him. I stared into his eyes for a good 3 seconds, and he winced slightly. Or maybe that was just a wishful thinking. I don't know. Either way, that was the first time I made eye contact. After Mr. Pankowski hands out the stacks of papers, he moves to the front of the class and begins to... As you can see on the board, my name is Mr. Pankowski. This is biology class. Even though this is final period, don't feel I'm going to let you guys off easy because of that. I'm not your friend. Will not hesitate to give all of you a failing grade. Mr. Pankowski continues to lecture the class. I skim through the paper he handed out. Actually, a class syllabus goes through what we are going to learn during this semester. As I continue to skim through the paper he handed out, Mr. Pankowski continued, I have zero tolerance on tardiness. I gave you one warning, and if you are tardy again, I will fail you for my class. Which if I from the class, you will have to do extra credit work to make that. Even with the extra credit, you will fail. So be on time every day. Mr. Pankowski seemed very strict, and is starting to intimidate not only me, but the other students that were in the class. This was just the day of school, and out of all of my teachers, he was giving me the most amount of hell. Remember, I also was forming a strange attraction. I have to add this as it's relevant to how I'm currently feeling. Mr. Pankowski continues to give us an outline as to how his class operates. Out of instinct, I take out my notebook and begin writing tidbits as to what Mr. Pankowski is discussing and talking about. Not even 2 minutes or so of me writing what he's saying, Mr. Pankowski throws my notebook off my desk and also throws the pen I was writing with, clear across the room. He then gets to an uncomfortable level to my face and whispers to me, Did I tell you to take notes? I sit silently, not saying anything for about 10 minutes. I didn't know if it was a rhetorical question or not, or if I was supposed to answer it. I was all scared of how close he was into my personal space. I felt threatened and nervous. Even if I tried to open my lips to speak, I couldn't. So I stayed silent this entire time. Mr. Pankowski seemed angry at me for not responding to him and decided to shout at me very violently. Did I tell you could take notes? I didn't, right? Pay attention. Go get your things off the floor and go back to your seat. Don't take any notes, unless I tell you so. If you do that again, you're getting detention. Do you understand me? I get up from my seat and grab my notebook that the teacher threw, and I also end up grabbing my pen that was also on the ground. I return to my seat feeling humiliated. The rest of the students were laughing at me, and I hated being made a fool of. Mr. Pankowski continued on with his lesson, and this was only the beginning of the strange relationship I had with him. But I did have a slight crush on him. After class was over, I had so many emotions in my head, I was going to have to be with this man for the rest of my school year. My last period was going to be with him. Whether I enjoyed his company or not, I was forced to be in his class. Instead of going straight home, I went to one of the back staircases of the school and just cried as sitting on the top step. Mr. Pankowski had that effect on me. He was such a mean teacher, but I began to have a strange lust over him. Being that I was only 17 years old, it would be disaster if I didn't keep my thoughts of him to myself. I started to cry and sob deeply. The ultimate sin I was committing. The infamous crush on the teacher's sin. I would have never in a million years thought that it would happen to me, but it has. Throughout my entire school career, I never found teachers attractive. Actually, I despised most teachers and wanted nothing to do with them. Not with Mr. Pankowski. He was different. I just had to realize that I'm never going to be with him, and I have to start thinking realistically about it. That night at home, I was in my room and was thinking about my day at school. Being in Mr. Pankowski's class and how much of a strain it has on my mental health. Understanding how strict of a teacher he is, and that I have never had a feeling such as this with a teacher ever before. Part of me wanted to skip going to his class the next day. I could just not imagine me being strong enough to sit through his class another day. The following day at school, I thought that I would feel better about it. That's incorrect. I felt even worse about it. Once again, I was the first one to arrive in Mr. Pankowski's class, and a few of the other students were there. When I walked into the classroom, some of them were laughing and snickering under their breaths. I knew something was up, but I didn't know exactly what it was. I thought maybe I had a kick me sign on my back, or there was something in my hair. Whatever it was, I knew it was some type of inside joke or something I wasn't aware of. I start to sit down at my desk in front of the class, just like I did the day before. As I'm taking out my notebook, one of the students that was sitting in the back of class walks over to my desk and taps me on the shoulder. I turn to look at the student, and they begin to whisper out to me. "We put super glue in his chair. Don't ruin the secret. When he comes in, just act natural. Don't spoil it. This is going to be so fun to get back at him." I end up shaking my head. Even though I found Mr. Pankowski strict, I would never dare imagine playing a prank on him like that. Something like this is only going to make the situation worse and possibly have him hate us even more. I felt like I was torn as to what I should do. Should I tell Mr. Pankowski that there is super glue in his seat? Or should I just go along with the prank like the other kids are? I mean, he did humiliate me the day before, so I guess this would be the perfect payback for him. Minutes later, the rest of the class enters the classroom, and the whole class is in a stunt, and everyone seems to be on board. Mr. Pankowski soon arrives inside the classroom and sets his case and coffee mug down on his desk. Some of the class erupts in a small snickering, but we are all keeping up the charade. Mr. Pankowski then starts to write down several problems on the board. At this time, I wanted to basically do a deed or attempt to. I didn't feel that Mr. Pankowski deserved the prank the class was going to pull on him. Despite that, the rest of the class would hate me and possibly beat me up in class. I was going to snitch about the prank. When the teacher finished writing what he had to run a board, I raised my hand. Mr. Pankowski notices my hand is raised and gives me an agitated and irritated look. He then shouts out to me, "Put your hand down. Unless I ask you all if you have any questions, I don't want your hand raised while I'm teaching. Put your hand down. You're already on thin ice for yesterday. You know that, right? Put your hand down and be quiet." I couldn't believe it. I was trying to do something good, What the hell was I thinking? Well, you know what? Mr. Pankowski just blew it. He didn't have to be a complete jerk about it. I couldn't wait to see him sit down on that chair. I was also sick about this too. I was going to help him out and warn him about the prank, but since he yet again humiliated me in front of the whole class, I hope he gets whatever is coming to him. I'm going to laugh so hard when he sits down. I couldn't believe his attitude had no intentions of helping him anymore. Mr. Pankowski continued talking as the rest of the class waits for him to sit down on the chair. I'm going to give all of you guys a test today. I know it's only the second day, but the packet I gave yesterday, I didn't tell you at the time, but I wanted you all to see everything in it. I really hope you guys studied. If not, expect a giant F. The entire class has groaned in disapproval. That's very cruel that Mr. Pankowski tricked us like that. The packet he handed out yesterday, we all assumed was a syllabus. We didn't know that it was a secret code for us to test later. I didn't think there at all, and I don't think any of us paid attention to that section of the packet. I was pretty sure the entire class was going to fail this test. The other part of me, as soon as Mr. Pankowski sat down on his chair, he was going to be in a big surprise. So the surprise pop quiz didn't seem that bad after all. Mr. Pankowski then handed the quiz paper to the entire class. Once the paper, all of the questions seemed more